They called us savages behind our backs. A primitive species from a death world, barely above animals. But when they used their precious technology to strip open our minds in front of the whole galaxy, they didn't find mindless brutality. They found something worse. A predator with purpose. A species forged by fire. And a smile that meant someone was about to die screaming. That was the moment they realized humanity wasn't savage by accident. We were born that way. And we liked it. They arrived dressed like ghosts in a room of gods. 3 humans. No entourage. No guards. Just confidence wrapped in civilian fabric and military fiber, standing before 1,000 eyes that didn't blink, because most of them didn't need to. The Salin Prime Summit was built to impress, to intimidate. High ceilings of psionic light, air purified beyond necessity, voices drifting through suspended translation nodes like celestial whispers. And in the middle of it, the humans stood like bad weather. Ambassador Grant didn't speak. He scanned the domed chamber like a man who'd once judged a battlefield by wind direction. His eyes were calculating, but tired, not defeated, just used to disappointment. Dr. Helena March held a small stone in her hand, like a talisman, rubbing it once with her thumb, then tucking it inside her coat. She had the posture of someone who'd buried more people than she'd saved. And Colonel Vega, he smiled. The kind of smile that didn't mean warmth. The kind that usually came just before the screaming started. The Droll Imperator rose from his coil seat, ancient ceremonial cloths shifting across his limbs like living silk. He opened both arms with the grace of someone who believed this moment was already written in their favor. "Let this be the beginning of understanding," he said, voice laced with artificial calm. "The echo core does not lie. It will speak of what your species is, beneath the skin." Helena didn't move. Grant offered the barest nod. Vega rolled his neck, one pop at a time. The cord descended from above slowly, like the judgment of something divine. A black orb the size of a man's chest, held in a magnetic cradle. It began to hum. It was already pulling from them. The chamber dimmed. Every delegate leaned forward. Curiosity. Anticipation. Arrogance. Then it began. First, the sound. Screams layered over explosions, panic in different languages, glass breaking, sirens wailing, boots over mud, and something else, gasps. Human gasps. Not of pain, but recognition. The kind of pain you only feel when you already know what's coming. Images slammed into the minds of everyone present. Tanks grinding over ice. Fire raining on cities. Gray ash falling like snow over charred playgrounds. Mushroom clouds erupting under camera flashes. Mothers clawing through rubble. Soldiers firing until their rifles melted. The screams in the chamber weren't from the humans. They came from everywhere else. A feathered Myri delegate shrieked and collapsed, clutching their skull. A Zelthari noble vomited blue sludge across their translator pad. The Harmonians, hive minds of empathy, curled into fetal clusters, overwhelmed by a flood of psychic torment. The Droll smiled. Just briefly. "This," the Imperator said, "is your legacy. Your essence. You build death into everything." Grant stepped forward. "That's not all we built." The core shimmered. The pulse deepened. Suddenly, the fire was gone. Replaced by a hand reaching through rubble to lift a child. A medic shielding a stranger with their own body. Firefighters walking into towers while everyone else fled. Arms held out over broken bridges. A violin playing in a city under siege. Letters from trenches. Final phone calls whispered before planes hit glass. The pain didn't stop. But now it had direction. Now it had purpose. And the aliens, they didn't know how to feel it. "We don't bury our darkness," Helena said softly, not to the chamber, but to herself. "We wear it. We grow around it. That's what you don't understand." The Imperator's smile twitched. "You are contradictions. Violence and tenderness, in the same breath. It's unnatural." Vega stepped forward. He tapped the floor with his boot once. "We're not contradictions. We're consequences." The orb pulsed. The chamber shook. The core began to crack. The Drawl guards moved, just a little, but enough. Vega didn't flinch. Don't. One of them reached for something. Helena pulled out her stone, green, glassy, jagged at the edges. She held it out slowly. Chernobylite, she said. Formed in a city we once killed with our own hands. My grandmother died there. She was 3. She dropped it. It shattered. The chamber didn't explode. But the air changed. The core surged, a wave of static rolling through every delegate's skull. Neural links shorted. Implants buzzed out. The Drawl commander screamed something in his native tone, urgent, high-pitched, panicked. Nothing happened. No reinforcements. No weapons activating. No null fields re-engaging. Silence. Then a flicker. A projection burst to life in the center of the chamber. Earth's Admiral, Rafe Sinclair. Dark uniform, silver lines across the collar. His face appeared calm, but only the way a cliff face is calm before it crushes you. Let me be clear, he said. This summit is over. The Drawl Imperium's political stranglehold on neutral systems is no longer recognized by Earth. This station is now under temporary protection. You will not be harmed, unless you try to run. Delegates gasped. The Imperator rose to full height, voice shaking. This is an act of war. No, Grant said. This is us showing restraint. The chamber lights flickered again. Outside the viewing windows, shadows shifted. 3 shapes emerged from cloak, massive dreadnoughts, all bristling with ordnance. Not firing. Just watching. We came with 3 people, Vega said. Unarmed. You brought a psychic torture device. Helena's voice, quiet. And you thought we'd be the ones to break. The Maori delegate spoke, trembling. You knew this would happen? Grant answered without emotion. We didn't plan it. We just understood what would happen. That's the difference between you and us. You think chaos is something to avoid. We know it's just a tool. The core finally cracked open with a sharp snap, like bones splitting. Pieces floated. Glowing. Harmless. The Imperator whispered, What are you? Vega walked up to him. He leaned in, just a little. His voice didn't rise. You think we're monsters because we didn't look away. Because we carried our pain like armor. But we didn't start as monsters. We became them because no one else would survive if we didn't. He stepped back. And now you know. The humans turned without waiting for a dismissal. And they walked out. Just 3 of them. The galaxy's most feared species. Not because they kill. But because when death comes, they don't flinch. Ambassador Grant didn't move when the screaming began. He simply lowered his hands to his sides and watched as the carefully arranged chamber erupted into chaos. The first to fall were the Maori. Sensitive to emotion, incapable of separating illusion from memory, they collapsed in a soft pile of feathers and trembling limbs. The core had barely begun its work, yet already their minds were cracking. The Harmonians followed, their collective neural resonance shattering under the flood. They screamed as one. The Drawl, ever confident, stood with narrowed eyes and stiff backs. Watching, calculating. Waiting to see just how much of the human soul was survivable. Colonel Vega exhaled through his nose like he was bored. The course swirled again. Now came the fire. Napalm coating cities. Streets turning black. Civilians running while buildings turned to ash. Machine gun chatter. Boots pounding over shattered pavement. History poured out of the humans' minds like a broken dam, tidal waves of horror, precision, madness. A man tied to a post, blindfolded. A child with a gas mask too large for their face. An old woman staring at her destroyed apartment, clutching a photograph. Delegates clutched at their skulls. The psionics guild attempted to buffer the transmission, but even they staggered. And still, the humans stood silent. The Drawl Imperator turned toward Grant. You allow this? You asked who we were, Grant replied. We're showing you. Helena whispered. Not even the bad part yet. The core pulsed harder, and something shifted. No more bombs. No more soldiers. Now silence. A collapsed mine in Chile. Trapped men singing in the dark. A rescue shaft boring downward. Light. Joy. A tsunami in Japan. Survivors standing in ruined towns, handing rice balls to strangers. New York, 2001. Firefighters running up staircases while everyone else fled down. A single violinist in a city at war. A hand, reaching across barbed wire to pass a canteen. The scream stopped. Replaced by confusion. Alien minds twisted to comprehend the contradiction. How could a species capable of such ruin carry such grace? Helena finally looked up. You thought we were monsters because we don't hide the pain, the Imperator hissed. You embrace it. That makes you dangerous. You're right, Vega said. But not in the way you think. The core flickered again. Then sparked. A small pulse of light blinked from its center, and several nearby delegates flinched. Grant turned slowly toward the drawl. This device. The core. You've used it before? The Imperator paused. It is sanctioned for species evaluation. No minds have failed to endure. You've never used it on us. The orb trembled. Helena stepped forward. You studied our biology, our technology, our politics. But you never studied our pain. A voice from the Kelnari delegation, trembling. What is happening to it? The core cracked. Just a fine fracture. Barely visible. But the hum changed pitch. It went from deep and meditative to sharp, urgent, like a scream too high for ears. Vega's jaw tightened. You didn't build it to hold this much. The Imperator snapped. This is your doing. Grant didn't reply. A second fracture. Lights around the chamber dimmed. Shields flickered. Neural translators began desensing. Now came a different set of memories. Quiet, still ones. The kind that don't burn cities, but instead leave ashes inside the heart. A mother folding the last shirt of a son who wouldn't come home. A teacher reading to an empty classroom after a shooting. A man burying a wedding ring at sea. The droll Imperator staggered. Make it stop! You wanted the truth, Helena said. This is it. I said stop it. You can't, Vega growled. You opened the door. Now drown in it. The core cracked a third time, and something released. A shockwave, not physical, but emotional. Raw, ancient, and buried too long. The chamber dimmed to black for just a second. Then lights returned. And the core shattered. Shards hovered in the air, suspended like droplets of thought. No explosion. No fire. Just silence. Then the screams came again, not from horror, but from understanding. The miry delegate whispered. They remember everything. All of it. Helena nodded. And we live with it. Every day. The draw guards moved. Grant lifted one finger. Don't. They paused. Explain yourselves, the Imperator demanded. What species clings to pain like this? What purpose does it serve? Vega stepped forward, his tone flat. You see trauma as damage. We see it as fuel. You feared what we'd do if pushed. You should have feared what we'd become by surviving. The chamber doors remained sealed. A delegate from the Tari Confederacy stood slowly. You carry war in your bones. No, Helena replied. We carry the ones who didn't come back. The chamber fell quiet. Then Grant sighed, and his voice turned colder than the void. You thought you could expose us. Humiliate us. Use this place to remind the galaxy who holds the leash. But you forgot one thing. The most dangerous thing in any room. He stepped toward the center. Isn't the loudest voice. It's the quiet one. The one that doesn't flinch when the bombs drop. The one that walks into fire with a first aid kit. The one that buries the dead, and then stands back up. Helena looked toward the viewport. The stars outside didn't shimmer, they stared back. This was your test, she said softly. We just made it ours. And as the fragments of the core drifted like dust in silence, the chamber finally understood. Humans had revealed their true nature. Not savagery in war, but savagery in endurance. The moment the core shattered, every eye turned to the humans, not in anger or blame, but something colder. Fear, perhaps, or worse, respect. The shards hovered above the platform, humming softly, as if the echoes of humanity's agony refused to fade. Colonel Vega's voice was the first to cut through the silence. It held centuries of truth and cracked in minutes. "What does that tell you?" The Droll Imperator tried to recover his poise, but his claws twitched. "This was not sanctioned. This is a violation." "No," Ambassador Grant said. "This is a consequence." Helena stepped forward slowly, her boots tapping against the smooth stone floor. "You wanted to prove we were animals. You paraded us into this place like we should be grateful to stand under your chandelier of lies. But you forgot the one lesson every death world teaches." She paused just long enough. "We don't play with fire. We become it." A ripple passed through the room, not from sound, but from the subtle, horrifying realization that everything had just changed. The balance had tipped, and none of the other delegates had the stomach to admit it. The Imperator hissed toward his guards, but they didn't move. Their neural links had failed. The implants, ripped offline by the echo burst, left them blind and disoriented. Vega smirked. "This was never about diplomacy. You invited us here to break us in front of an audience. To remind the galaxy who's in control. Then why are you still standing?" the Imperator barked. "Because you picked the wrong species." Without warning, every light in the chamber dimmed, then blinked back with a sharp electric whine. Emergency protocols struggled to reboot across the station, but nothing responded. Every override failed. A slow, deliberate pulse echoed overhead. 3 shadows uncloaked above Salin Prime. Earth's dreadnoughts, Ash of Earth, Scourge, and Barbarossa, took position. Silent. Watching. Not a shot fired. Helena looked up unsurprised. "Right on time." A low chime buzzed through the chamber, followed by a voice layered in calm authority. "Admiral Rafe Sinclair? This is Earth's Strategic Command. Effective immediately, Salin Prime is under protective lockdown. No vessels may leave the system. We are here to ensure the safety of our diplomatic delegation." The Imperator roared. "This is an act of war." "No," Grant replied. "It's a response to yours." A dozen delegates rose from their seats in a panic. The chamber filled with murmurs of chaos. The Maori delegate, still pale, whispered, "They brought warships to a peace summit." "We brought restraint," Grant corrected. 3 people. Unarmed. Against the full force of the Droll Imperium. That's not a threat. That's a warning." Vega turned and walked calmly toward the Imperator, pausing inches from his face. "You wanted a demonstration. You got it. You saw what we carry. And you still don't get it, do you?" The Imperator didn't reply. Vega leaned closer. "We don't survive because we're lucky. We survive because when someone builds a weapon to crush us, we sharpen ourselves against it." Helena unfolded a small device from her coat, smooth, black, unmarked. She placed it gently on the central platform. "This is a data crystal," she said. "Inside is every single document, broadcast, and conversation you've had with your puppet regimes in the last 10 years. Full logs of economic manipulations, military blackmails, and species-level betrayals. You wanted to shame us in front of the galaxy? Now the galaxy gets to see you for what you really are." The Droll guards finally stirred, but moved slowly, uncertain. Sinclair's voice returned. "You have 2 options. Stand down and face open tribunal. Or try to run, and we light up this sector until your bones glow." Grant folded his hands. "For the record, we prefer the first." The Imperator's eyes flicked toward the platform, toward the floating fragments of the echo core still humming with fragments of human memory. Something in him cracked. "You baited us," he said, voice trembling. "No," Helena said. "You baited yourselves. We just held the mirror." One by one, delegates began standing. A few from the outer fringe worlds turned and walked out without a word. Others whispered furiously among themselves. The Kelnari trade prince approached the humans, head bowed slightly. We believed what they told us about you. You should have asked us directly, Grant said. We don't hide. The prince nodded once and left. Vega didn't move until the Imperator sank back into his chair. The once imposing ruler of half the known systems now looked like someone who'd glimpsed a storm coming and realized the levees were lies. Vega finally said, You saw savagery in our wars. But you missed it in our silence. You think fury is fire. It isn't. Real fury is when we burn quietly, waiting for the exact moment to speak. Grant stepped away from the platform and motioned to Helena. We're done here. No retaliation? The Imperator called out. No retribution? Helena paused. You already got the worst thing we can do to you. He frowned. She turned her head slightly. We let you live long enough to regret it. Without another word, the humans walked to the edge of the chamber as security systems rebooted behind them. Doors hissed open. As they left, Vega gave the room one last glance. Next time, we won't come to talk. And just like that, 3 unarmed representatives from a backwater death world walked out, leaving behind the ruins of an empire's arrogance. The corridor pulsed with dim light as the 3 humans walked in silence. Not out of fear. Not out of hesitation. But because there was nothing left to say. Behind them, the chamber still vibrated with aftershocks, emotional, political, psychological. A galactic stage cracked at the foundation, and no one dared sweep the dust. Helena was the first to speak. They still think we bluffed. Grant didn't break stride. Let them. Belief doesn't change what's already done. Vega chuckled. You saw the Imperator's face? That wasn't confusion. That was a man realizing he lit a match inside a refinery. A door hissed open. The path to the shuttle bay lay ahead, but instead of guards or protocol drones, only silence waited. No one challenged them. No escort, no escortee. Just distance. Just space. They thought we came to beg, Helena said. They thought we came alone, Vega added. Grant's voice was quiet. They still don't understand the worst thing we carry. Helena turned. Which is? He glanced at her, eyes sharp but tired. Memory. The corridor lights flickered once, then again. A voice clicked into their earpieces. Sinclair. Extraction team ready. Drawl fleets have powered down, still scrambling communications. No resistance. Grant acknowledged it with a blink. Helena stopped walking and reached into her coat again. The shards of Chernobylite still glimmered faintly in a sealed pouch. Vega noticed. You planning on keeping that as a souvenir? She held it up. I don't collect trophies. This is a reminder. Grant nodded. Every scar has its use. The voice of the Myri delegate rang out from the far end of the corridor, hurried but steady. He stepped forward alone. No entourage. No translator drone. You could have broken the station in half. Taken hostages. Waged war. Vega didn't turn around. We still could. That's what I don't understand, the Myri said. Why didn't you? Grant turned slowly. Because we're not here to conquer. You could have rewritten every law. We didn't need to, Helena said. Your leaders violated their own. The Myri bowed his head. They always claimed you were unstable. Uncivilized. And now? Vega asked. He looked up, eyes wet but focused. Now I understand that fear isn't the same as savagery. You've bled more than we can imagine, but it made you sharp. Grant offered him a tight smile. You fear what you don't control. You fear what doesn't need permission. Vega's voice dropped lower. You should be more afraid of what doesn't need revenge. The Myri straightened, gathering courage. What happens now? Helena stepped forward. Now you choose. Align with the broken systems that nearly erased your conscience, or walk with the ones who endured theirs. The Myri hesitated, then nodded. I'll take that to my council. Grant offered him a parting nod, then continued down the corridor. Should have told him. Vega muttered. Told him what? Helena asked. Grant didn't stop walking. That we don't have a council. We have consequences. The landing bay opened ahead. Their shuttle sat primed, silent, waiting. Inside, Earth's crest gleamed across its hull, not as a warning, but as an announcement. As they boarded, Vega tapped a side panel. A transmission fed directly into the summit's public network, still flickering from the core's backlash. Recording? He asked. Rolling, Helena confirmed. Grant stepped into view, back straight, expression unreadable. This is Ambassador Grant, representing United Humanity. Let the record show, today's incident was neither provoked nor engineered. It was the inevitable result of continued provocation, exploitation, and systemic arrogance. The Echo Core was intended to humiliate us. Instead, it broadcast the truth. He paused, then let his voice settle deeper. We do not apologize for our history. We do not hide from it. We carry every scream, every failure, every ash-stained moment, and we build from it. If you see that as barbaric, ask yourselves why your empires collapse at the first sign of pressure, while we still stand. Helena took his place. Humanity is not seeking conquest. But we will no longer tolerate domination masked as diplomacy. We came unarmed, because we expected reason. What we received was a trap. The galaxy should know, we don't fall into traps. We bury them. Vega leaned into frame last, a smirk twitching on his lip. We showed you restraint. That was the first and last time. He ended the transmission. The shuttle lifted without ceremony. The dreadnoughts flanked them in formation, and the empty void beyond Salin Prime swallowed the tension like a storm receding. Inside, none of them spoke for a moment. Then Helena leaned back and closed her eyes. They'll scramble, she said. They'll blame each other, Grant added. Vega cracked his knuckles. They'll remember. Helena opened one eye. That's the point. Not to be feared, Grant said. Not to be followed, she added. Vega stared out the window at the stars. But to never be underestimated again. The stars ahead didn't look brighter. But they no longer looked indifferent either. They looked awake. They didn't celebrate on the way home. No toasts, no speeches, no bravado. The shuttle hummed with quiet systems and quiet minds. No one asked what came next. They already knew. Above them, the dreadnoughts maintained a silent formation. Not to intimidate, not even to protect. Just to bear witness. The same way monuments stand, not to glorify victory, but to remember the price. Helena sat with her hands clasped, not praying, not trembling. Just thinking. The shards of the core, what remained of it, were sealed in a black container in the hold. There was no protocol for relics like that, no museum ready for it. It wasn't history yet. It was still smoldering. Grant reviewed the playback of the transmission again, expression unreadable. Every word had landed. The public feeds across a dozen systems had rebroadcast it without waiting for permission. The galaxy had already heard it. And something had shifted, something heavy and irreversible. Not fear. Not all. Something older. Recognition. Vega broke the silence. Think the Imperator's still shaking? Not visibly, Grant replied. He'll hold court. Pretend nothing cracked. But inside? He knows it's over. Wasn't just him, Helena added. We cracked the performance. The idea that they were untouchable. They were never untouchable, Grant said. Just unchallenged. The ship pinged, an incoming diplomatic query. Dozens of them. Embassies reaching out. Refugee colonies. Border world coalitions. Splinter governments. Some apologies. Some silent acknowledgments. One short message from the Kelnari, we are listening. Vega raised an eyebrow. Took a warless war to get their ears open. Wars don't always start with bullets, Grant said. Some begin with a mirror. And end with an answer, Helena added. Another ping. Then another. By the sixth, they stopped opening them. I suppose this is what power feels like, Vega said after a while. No, Grant replied. This is what accountability feels like. Power's easy. What comes next isn't. Vega stood and walked to the viewport, arms crossed. They thought they'd humiliate us. They thought we'd lash out. They expected monsters. But monsters don't hold back. We weren't proving what we can do, Helena said. We were proving what we won't. Grant nodded. And now they don't know what to fear more. Outside, the stars drifted like dust, watching. The shuttle passed the outer rim of Salin Prime's influence field. Just beyond, 2 more Earth ships decloaked, no weapons deployed, no warning sent. Just presence. Enough to say, we're here, and we're watching. Vega tapped the console. Galactic Accord's going to fall apart. Draw won't hold it. Myri might try to stabilize it, but without centralized control, it'll fracture. Helena didn't look up. Good. Maybe something better grows from the cracks. Grant sighed. Don't romanticize it. Power doesn't die quietly. Some will try to use our stand today as an excuse to swing the pendulum the other way. We won't let them, Vega said. We didn't come to replace tyrants. We came to end the table they sat at. Helena leaned forward. Then we build a new one. Not by force. By offering something they've never truly seen. What's that? Vega asked. A future that doesn't start with surrender. The console lit up again, this time, a private relay. Not diplomatic. Not political. A simple message from Earth Command. Confirmed. All 3 delegates secure. Core fragments archived. Broadcasts reach 79 sovereign systems. Estimated viewership, 1.3 trillion. Debrief to follow. Grant exhaled. They saw us. Vega smiled without joy. They finally saw us. The ship turned slightly, adjusting trajectory. They were already past the point of interception. No one followed. No one dared. Helena stood. We should write it down. What? Vega asked. This. What happened? Before someone else does. Before they make it prettier. Cleaner. History's never clean, Grant said. No. But the truth should be. Vega grinned. What would we call it? Grant stared out the window. The day we stopped asking to be understood. Helena tilted her head. No. Too passive. Vega nodded. What about the day we let them see the knife and chose not to use it? Grant looked at them both. Too long. They were quiet again. Not somber, focused. This wasn't closure. This was the beginning. Finally, Helena spoke. Call it what it was. Grant turned toward her. She said, the moment Deathworlders revealed their true savage nature. Vega raised an eyebrow. You think they'll get the irony? Grant smiled faintly. If they don't now, they will when the silence gets loud. The ship accelerated, stars stretching into long lines. Earth loomed in the distance, not as a home, not anymore, but as origin. The place where all this began, and where the consequences would return. As they drifted into the deep black, Helena whispered, they thought we were dangerous because of our past. Vega chuckled. Wait till they see what we do with our future.